If you're someone that's planning on selling their home, the home inspection is one of the most important pieces. And in my opinion, and in most cases, it's the biggest hurdle that you need to get past to get to the finish line. So this is where the buyers are going to bring in a professional home inspector to come look at your house. And depending on what they find, things could be smooth sailing to the finish line or create a wave of renegotiation, delays, or even a loss of sale. So in this video, we're gonna break down what a physical inspector usually inspects, and I'm gonna give you some tips on what you can do to prepare for that inspection. And this is important because, again, this is the biggest hurdle that you need to get past to get to the finish line to sell your home. So step one is just make sure the big stuff works. It doesn't have to be brand new. You don't have to replace all the big things in your house. Just make sure they work. So I always tell sellers to focus on three main things: curb appeal, first impression, and scary things. And if we're gonna talk about making any repairs prior to a physical inspection, we're gonna talk about the scary things that should be done. So starting with the roof, you don't have to have a brand new roof, but just make sure it works. For example, if you have missing shingles, replace those. If you have a water leak, make sure you don't have that during a physical inspection. If you did have a water leak and it's been fixed, make sure you don't have that ring around at the top of your ceiling inside showing that a water leak exists when it doesn't. Make sure that's gone. That's considered a scary thing when a buyer walks in your house, looks up, and sees watermarks. Next up, HVAC system, heating and cooling. Big ticket item. Make sure they work. For example, your furnace. If your furnace does not work, in the eyes of a mortgage lender, your home is not financeable. You have to have a heat source. So make sure your furnace works. Now there's one more little thing that you can do that will go a long way. Change your filter. Very inexpensive. You can pull the old one out, throw the new one in. The reason why I say this is because if you haven't changed that in 15 years and it goes to get inspected and it's very obvious that it hasn't been changed in a long time, the buyer automatically thinks, what else is not being maintained? And that's what we want to stay away from. Moving on to windows. If you have a window that's fogged up inside, it's not just dirty. And because when you clean it, it doesn't go away. That means that the seal is broken in between the window panes. Now, most of these windows have some sort of warranty. Check your warranty and get those replaced prior to going on the market or prior to the inspection. Also, if you have cracked windows and windows that don't open, little stuff like that are easy fixes that can go a long way. Moving on to water. This is plumbing and water pressures, things like that. Oftentimes we see the water pressure regulator really high, which is an easy fix. We're talking about a couple $100. But that is a big safety issue because if your water pressure is too high, your pipes could very easily burst. So that might be worth replacing prior to the physical inspection, because if it's high, it's almost guaranteed that the buyer is going to ask you to replace it anyway. Also, prior to physical inspection, make sure there's no leaks in your house. Now, I'm not saying to go get hire an inspector to come look at your property, but if there's a known leak or a mildew smell or something like that in your house, get that addressed, because again, anything water related in the house is considered a scary thing if it's not right. And these are relatively easy things to fix, and they always will show up on a physical inspection, and they will always be a problem in the eyes of a buyer. So just get these little items done. Save yourself some time. Okay, let's talk about electrical issues. So let's talk about the panel first. Now, I'm not saying go replace your panel. Even if you have an old one, that's okay. If it's properly working, let the inspector come out and inspect it. But make sure it's labeled so the inspector can actually do that instead of just calling out needs to be replaced. Second easy fix is check and make sure all the outlets are working. If they're not working, swap them out. Super easy. And the last thing and most important thing, I believe, is make sure you have GFCIs in water areas. That means that these are the breakers that with the little push buttons in the middle. Those are the GFCIs. Now they should be in the kitchen, anywhere near water. So kitchen, bathrooms, garage, have those in there. This is considered a safety issue, which is a scary thing for a buyer. And since we're talking about electrical, just quick tip. Now this is not related to the physical inspection. This will not be inspected, but if you have missing light bulbs or dead light bulbs or out, just replace them. It's super easy. The more light you can have, the better and warmer it feels in your house, the better it's gonna show to the buyer. Easy fix. So don't leave light bulbs out. Okay, so appliances and fixtures. Now, a refrigerator is typically not something that's that's going to be inspected because it plugs into the wall. It's considered personal property. But what will is your sink area, your oven, things like that. So if you have a garbage disposal, make sure it works. Oven, make sure that works as well. Make sure your burners work, and make sure it has the anti-tip device in the back of it. Super easy things that are just going to make life a little bit easier for you down the road. As far as the water heater goes, now most houses here in California have them in the garage, and they have to be, here in California, 18 inches off the ground and double strapped for earthquake purposes. Also, the venting has to be correct, but I wouldn't get into all that. Just make sure if that gets called out in the inspection, you can deal with it at that time. But 18 inches off the ground, double strapped, we know those are, we have to have it. Okay, so that's it for all the scary issues, the big issues that can cause real big problems within escrow. Moving on, here are some of the smaller things that will get popped up in physical inspection. And again, 99.9% of the time, I suggest to my sellers not to do these repairs up front. Not saying you can't, but I'm saying you shouldn't, and here's why. Typically, after the physical inspection on most homes in California that are older, a buyer is going to ask for some repairs every time. So we like to leave, especially the little things, left in case they do ask for them. Then we're negotiating with them still, because we know if you do these things up front, they're still going to ask for more. So leave the little stuff for them to ask, but we're going to go over them anyway. Things like tighten all loose faucets. Make sure cabinet doors shut and open properly. Make sure the railings are secured tightly. Angle stops in your plumbing, if they're corroded a little bit, they don't necessarily need to be replaced, but these are all little things that could be done. Another thing like caulking around the bathtub, a lot of times that it doesn't look pretty, things like that. Again, these are just all little things that you could do, but I don't usually suggest doing that. But again, every situation is different. So if you're someone thinking about selling, then I would love to chat with you about your particular situation, but this is just what I typically tell people. So moving on to outside of the house, this is very important too. The first thing we're gonna talk about is termite. Now, this is a big issue in California. Most people have termites. If you're someone that has hired a termite company to maintain your home, and meaning that they come out and check and spray for termites and things like that on a monthly or quarterly basis, if that's what you're doing, prior to going on the market, I would call them and say, hey, termite company, can you come out and meet with me at the property and inspect the property because I'm planning on selling it. The reason why I suggest doing that is because maintaining your property versus providing a termite clearance are two very different things. And when you go to sell a property, if a buyer is going to ask you anything, they're going to ask you for termite clearance. And what I've seen so many times is these companies that are maintaining these properties for years, and then we go to sell it and come to find out there's $10,000 worth of termite damage. Who should be responsible for that? I don't know, you tell me. If you're someone that does not have a termite company that's maintaining your property on a regular basis, then I would suggest hiring a termite company to come out and give you a report. What I mean is they're going to inspect the property, see what, if it does have termites, what the damage is and how much it would cost to provide a termite cleared property or a clearance. Get the report. Typically these are free. I don't suggest doing any of the work. The reason why is because you never know what a buyer is going to want to do with your property. If they want to replace a bunch of wood, like for example, if you have wood siding and they want to change it to stucco, they're going to rip all that off anyway. If they want to put on a new roof, lots of wood, lots of termites typically there, they're going to replace all that anyway. So by you up front paying for all these things that don't matter to the buyer, which we don't know if it will or not, don't do them up front. Wait until you're asked to do it by the buyer, but at least you know what you're working with. Super easy thing here, if you have gutters, clean them. Super simple. Get all those leaves out of there, make sure that they work properly. Those things will be called out by an inspector. If you have a fence, if they're missing pieces, replace them. If it needs to be painted, paint it. That makes a huge difference. It's a huge part of your yard, especially your backyard. And if that's repainted and looks really nice, really changes the landscape of your yard. Garage door, two things. Make sure it works. Secondly, make sure it has the safety on the bottom. And if you're someone that lives in a state with radon issues, get it tested. So as always, what I say is every situation is different. So I would always suggest to talk to your real estate professional prior to making any decisions, including things about physical inspection. If you don't have a real estate professional and you live in San Diego County, I'd love to be that person for you. If not, I know agents all over the country. I'd be happy to connect you with someone good. Till next time, thanks for watching.